a year for all sports. So my feeling was, let's make it transparent, let's regulate it. We had an issue in the NBA some number of years ago with an official, but there was no transparency into it. I mean, now, if you look at jurisdictions in Europe, for example, people are betting with credit cards, so they know exactly who it is, they know how much they're betting. It's just like a stock market with insider trading. If there's aberrational behavior, sophisticated computer programs spit it out and say there's something going on, at least that you should investigate. So my view is it should be regulated. My preference would be a consistent national federal framework in the United States, but it so happens that the state of New Jersey challenged the constitutionality.
This is the worst thing that Adam Silver's done as commish, because all the other stuff, a lot of the like aesthetic part of the game. One, I do think some of it is like a real issue and like it is a problem, but also half of that is
the NBA is facing its darkest hour. What started as a routine investigation into suspicious betting patterns has exploded into a full-blown crisis that threatens to drag the league's biggest stars and its commissioner into the center of a gambling scandal. LeBron James, Adam Silver, high-stakes bets, confidential information. The lines between entertainment and exploitation have never been blurrier. This is the inside story of the gambling allegations that have the entire basketball world holding its breath.
He wasn't going to be able to compel witnesses to testify or to give him information. Nothing. They're not a law enforcement organization. Adam Silver, now, you could, from a public relations standpoint, you can stand there and huff and puff and pound the table and look like a tougher guy. I don't know what David Stern would have been able to do. He might have been able to project something different.
He would have tried.
He would have tried. But in terms of what Adam Silver can do, he's got to sit there now and take it. He's got to sit there now and hope. Here's what he can do. He can pray every night.
We've taken gambling ads before. So I'm not here to say we're like morally, we're above it. We'd never even touch gambling.
But we're not the NBA.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Yeah, like it's going to be a part of life. And I'm not even saying that fans shouldn't gamble or shouldn't be like.
It began quietly, as most scandals do. A routine alert from a sportsbook monitoring system flagged unusually heavy betting on a series of mid-season NBA games. The patterns were subtle at first, a spike in prop bets on specific player performances, a surge of money on games that ultimately produced shocking upsets. But as investigators dug deeper, the patterns became impossible to ignore. According to documents obtained by Sportico, an NBA betting investigation subpoena has demanded records related to a person of interest named Parker Allen Riedel. The subpoena, issued in U.S. District Court in Delaware, requested information from multiple sportsbook operators about Riedel's betting activity. What made this investigation different was the target's connection. Riedel was not just another gambler trying to beat the house. He was a former content coordinator for FanDuel TV, a media insider with access to information that the general public didn't have. The subpoena demanded records related to gambling activities conducted by Parker Allen Riedel and any information about Riedel from October 1, 2022 to the present. That's a sweeping time frame that covers multiple NBA seasons and potentially hundreds of games. For Adam Silver, who has spent years positioning the NBA as a leader in legalized sports gambling, who appeared at the craps table during the league's All-Star weekend in a calculated embrace of the industry, this investigation was a nightmare scenario. The league that had welcomed gambling with open arms was now being consumed by it. The investigation targeted one man, but the connections being uncovered reached much higher. Subscribe to see who else is caught in the net.
Never be watching this. I don't care who you are. You would never be watching that going, hey, something's up. It's that he left the games and there was action on it. I saw a bunch of theories, whether it was Porter, the Ohtani stuff. I didn't really know what to say because I was like, this just doesn't make a lot of sense. With Ohtani, I have more questions than I have answers. The language barrier adds to all of it as well, where you're just like, wait, at best, Ohtani's like a good friend who paid his buddy.
This was the dumbest reason ever to get caught. 24-year-old Jontay Porter thought it'd be a great idea to bet on NBA games that he actually was playing in. But that's not why he got caught. Each time he made a bet, magically all the bookies' money went to wherever he said. But Joe Budden had to roast you for not putting it all in your mama's name.
It caught him because in the game.
As investigators dug deeper into the patterns, they couldn't ignore the similarities to another scandal that had rocked the NBA just 2 years earlier, the case of Jontay Porter. In 2024, the NBA banned Porter for life after an investigation revealed he had disclosed confidential information to bettors and placed bets on games himself. Porter, a little-known player for the Toronto Raptors, had done the unthinkable. He used his insider access to manipulate his own performances for gambling purposes. The parallels were chilling. Just like in the Porter case, the current investigation involved unusual betting patterns on player props. Just like in the Porter case, it involved someone with insider access to NBA information. Porter had pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud in July 2024. His sentencing was repeatedly delayed, with prosecutors citing his continued substantial assistance. That phrase, continued substantial assistance, sent shivers through the league. What did Porter know, and who else was he talking about? According to court documents, Porter admitted to removing himself from games to cash out bets. He would play just long enough to hit certain prop bet thresholds, then mysteriously develop injuries or foul trouble that kept him on the bench. Bettors in on the scheme made millions. The current investigation bore all the hallmarks of a similar operation: suspicious prop bets, unusual game outcomes, insider access. The question haunting the league office was simple. Had Porter's scheme been a one-off, or was it part of something larger? The NBA has a gambling problem, one former federal prosecutor told ESPN, speaking on condition of anonymity. Not just in the sense that players are gambling, but in the sense that the league has become so dependent on gambling revenue that they've lost sight of the risks. Every insider with access to information is now a potential threat to the integrity of the game. The Porter case was supposed to be a cautionary tale. Instead, it may have been just the beginning. The next chapter reveals the role of the league's biggest stars in this unfolding drama.
Porter for violating the league's gambling rules. Contessa Brewer is here with the details. Contessa.
So, Tyler and Leslie, what we found out is that the Raptors forward Jontay Porter allegedly bet not only on basketball, but also on his own team. DraftKings had said that prop bets for Porter for a couple dates earlier in the year were the biggest winners that day. The NBA said a league investigation found that Porter violated league rules by disclosing confidential information to sports bettors, by limiting his own participation in one or more games for betting purposes, and...
I don't know. I haven't given much thought lately. Obviously, I've thought about it in the past, but at the end of the day, the kid, the kid has to do what he wants to do, and I don't even want to say kid no more. The young man will decide what he wants to do and how he wants his career to.
No scandal in the NBA is complete without the involvement of its biggest star. And while LeBron James has not been accused of any wrongdoing, his name has been dragged into the conversation in ways that make his camp furious. The connection, however tenuous, comes through Maverick Carter, LeBron's longtime business partner and best friend. In 2024, Carter was identified as a person of interest in an unrelated gambling investigation involving illegal bookmaking. Carter was never charged with any crime, and his representatives have consistently denied any wrongdoing. But in the court of public opinion, guilt by association is a powerful force. LeBron's name began appearing in social media threads connecting the dots between the Porter scandal, the Carter investigation, and the current probe. Conspiracy theories flourished, memes proliferated, and LeBron's carefully cultivated image took a hit. "It's frustrating, man," a source close to LeBron told ESPN. LeBron has nothing to do with any of this. He's never gambled on games, he's never bet on basketball. But because he's the biggest name in the sport, people want to drag him into everything. The league office has been careful not to link James to any investigation, but the damage to his reputation, however minor, is real. In an era where sports gambling is legal in 38 states and the District of Columbia, the line between fan engagement and exploitation has never been thinner. Adam Silver himself has acknowledged the risks. In a 2024 interview with ESPN, he said, "We have to be vigilant. The moment we think this can't happen to us, that's when we're most vulnerable." But vigilance may not be enough. The same technology that makes sports betting so accessible, smartphones, apps, instant deposits, also makes it nearly impossible to monitor every transaction, every insider, every potential threat. LeBron's name has been dragged into the conversation, but the real target of this investigation may be much closer to the commissioner's office. The next chapter reveals the pressure mounting on Adam Silver.
Dealing with this, other sports as well. But what is your message to fans who may be worried about the game's integrity right now?
My message is the integrity is absolutely solid. So the scandal, as you called it, is an incident from 2.5 years ago involving one player who allegedly tipped other accomplices that he was going to be coming out of a game early because he was injured. But so that's, to me, an isolated incident so far. Having said that, we take it absolutely seriously. I understand from a fan standpoint that there's nothing more important than the integrity of the game. And I think, recently we put in some new...
We have a planned trade to announce. As part of a trade to be finalized later, the Los Angeles Lakers will trade the draft rights to Isaiah Jackson, the 22nd pick, to the Indiana Pacers via the Washington Wizards. I'm just reading it.
When Adam Silver became NBA commissioner in 2014, he inherited a league that had spent decades fighting against legalized sports gambling. David Stern, his predecessor, had called gambling a threat to the integrity of the game and fought vigorously to keep it illegal. Silver took a different approach. In a landmark 2014 New York Times op-ed, he called for a federal framework that would legalize and regulate sports betting. Congress should adopt a federal framework that allows states to authorize betting on professional sports, Silver wrote. I believe that sports betting should be brought out of the underground and into the sunlight. It was a bold, controversial stance, and over the next decade, Silver's vision became reality. The Supreme Court struck down the federal ban on sports betting in 2018. States rushed to legalize. The NBA signed partnerships with DraftKings, FanDuel, and MGM. Gambling became not just acceptable, but central to the league's business model. By 2026, the NBA's relationship with gambling was everywhere. Ads for sportsbooks ran during every broadcast. Odds were displayed on screen during games. Announcers casually discussed point spreads and prop bets. The league even hosted its All-Star weekend at a casino resort, with Silver himself appearing at the craps table for photo ops. It's a complete reversal of everything the league stood for, said one former NBA executive, and now they're facing the consequences. The Parker Allen Riedel investigation is Silver's nightmare made real. A media insider with access to information, using that access to beat the House. If Riedel is found to have acted alone, the league can breathe a sigh of relief. But if the investigation reveals a broader network, if it shows that other insiders, perhaps even players, were involved, Silver's entire gambling strategy could collapse. The NBA made a deal with the devil, one sports ethicist told The Athletic. They took the money, they embraced the partnerships, they normalized gambling for a new generation of fans, and now they're discovering that the devil always collects. The pressure on Silver is immense, but the investigation continues and new revelations are emerging daily. The final chapter reveals what happens next and whether the NBA can survive its biggest scandal. As of late February 2026, the investigation into Parker Allen Riedel continues. The subpoenas have been issued, the records are being reviewed, and the NBA is watching with a mixture of dread and hope. The parallels to the Jontay Porter case are impossible to ignore. Porter, who is scheduled to be sentenced in May 2026, has been cooperating with prosecutors. What information he's provided and who it implicates remains under seal, but the timing, his sentencing coming just months after the Riedel investigation became public, suggests a coordinated effort to root out corruption in the sport. For Adam Silver, the path forward is treacherous. He cannot unring the bell. He cannot undo the partnerships or unspool the billions of dollars in gambling revenue that now flow through the league, but he can act decisively to protect the integrity of the game. We will continue to cooperate fully with all investigations, the NBA said in a statement. The integrity of our game is paramount, and we will take whatever action is necessary to protect it. For LeBron James, the scandal is a distraction from his final chapters. At 41, in what may be his last season with the Lakers, he wants to focus on basketball, not conspiracy theories. But in the modern NBA, where gambling is as much a part of the broadcast as the score, he may not have that luxury. LeBron doesn't gamble on games, his representatives have repeatedly stated. He never has, he never will. Any suggestion otherwise is baseless and offensive. The truth, as always, is more complicated than the headlines. The investigation may ultimately reveal nothing more than one man's attempt to exploit his insider access for personal gain, or it may expose a rot that runs much deeper. The gambling allegations swirling around the NBA are a warning, not just to the league, but to every sports organization that has embraced legalized betting without fully considering the consequences. When you make gambling central to your business model, you accept the risks that come with it. You accept that every insider becomes a potential threat. You accept that every game, every play, every whistle will be scrutinized not just by fans, but by bettors with money on the line. Adam Silver gambled that the benefits of legalization would outweigh the risks. For a decade, that gamble paid off. The money poured in, the partnerships flourished, the league grew. But gambling always catches up with you eventually. The house always wins. Until it doesn't. Should the NBA sever its ties with sportsbooks, or is this just the cost of doing business in the modern era? Let us know in the comments. For more investigative stories on the biggest controversies in sports, hit subscribe.